Hello, Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Good evening and welcome to Steel Syndicate podcast with me, your host, Britsburgh, Owen, here in the UK, where it's just after 11 o'clock at night and it's dark and cold. I'm joined on the sunny side of the world by my good buddy, Mr. Steelers Nation Australia, Mark Davison. Mark, how's it going down there?
Mate, I'm a little bit tired actually. I was up late last night. I don't know if you've seen this movie, but have you seen Die Hard 3?
Probably a while ago.
Yeah, it's just I don't know, this random, right? But it's fantastic. I was up watching that. I was like, I'm just gonna watch that. So, and also I'm a bit pissed off. I don't know. I'm just frustrated at the fact that these mock drafts are already coming out. I've seen mock drafts 1.0, and I'm not against mock drafts. They're a bit funny to me, but I'm against the fact they're coming out way too early. I did a video today on my Steel Oz, and this is pretty much me saying it, so you can watch it here, watch it there. I don't care where you watch me anyway. But I'm doing a rant right now. It frustrates me that we're 105 days away, and people are already choosing 7 picks, and we don't even know the other side of the draft yet. With the playoffs still contending, Steelers can trade back. We don't even know, like you said off screen, the players that are declaring yet. I don't know any of this stuff. I don't mind looking to a player from it could be a 4th rounder, 5th rounder, and say, oh, you know what? He's kind of cool. He fits our system. And I'm going to go into detail if he could be a Steeler. But choosing them this early, it annoys me, man. Do we not have like a little bit of like reflection on the season or even go through the free agent period? We just go straight into mock drafts from 1 to 7. We're going to get this guy. And then the people who do them, do they even know what they're talking about?
Nope, they don't.
I don't mind mock drafts too much. They're kind of fun to do. But like January 13th, like 12th for you, it just frustrates me. I don't know what you guys think in the chat. I'm just like, I saw one today on YouTube and I saw a few articles today and I'm like, mock draft 1.0. I'm like, how are you doing it in January when you don't even know anything around these? Like, you don't even know what the Steelers need right now. We're not even sure if Canada's going to be back or what they're going to do with Flores or what free agents will come back. They just signed all these guys in the for the future reserve contracts, right? That kind of stuff happened. You know, we're 6 days removed from the playoff. Almost could have been a playoff chance. It just annoys me. J Devil, that's correct. I just don't get it. I legit don't get how you can go into a scenario and stand there and talk mock draft 1.0 over and over. The Steelers need to go and grab this guy, and this guy's going to be here at 17. How do you know he's going to be there at 17? Then go on to 33. It's hard enough to pick one player, let alone pick all 7 in a row. And I got hoodwinked last year. I thought the Steelers were going with Malik Willis because Tomlin had wings with him. Next minute, they're going at Kenny Pickett, and I'm so keen that they got him. It's just crazy to me. Look, I don't mind seeing a mock draft. Dead set. I don't mind seeing a mock draft like February, March, and the lead up to it. You know. But it seems like every year and year, the Adam Schefters, the Mel Kipers. He's a touchy one. Mel Kiper's not dead, is he? Is he still alive?
I think he's still alive.
I thought he died. Anyways, Mel Kiper. I think so. I think did he die? I think he might have passed away. Did he not? I'll check it anyway. Anyways, the Mel Kipers, all those dudes, right? You see them every year. The mock drafts. They get longer and longer and longer from 1.0 to to 15.7. Must be bad. Let me check about Mel. I think how's Mel going? I don't know why they came to my mind. But how you doing, mate?
We do need to check. We do need to check now. We might have. No, he's still alive, mate. He's still alive.
Okay, all right.
Okay, can we just make one thing clear, live chat and everyone picking up this video? Mel Kiper is not dead. I know Mark has killed him off already.
I don't know why. I thought he passed away. I don't know. Maybe it was someone else doing the drafts. Anyways, I'm just like, we're 6 days removed from a chance to go to the playoffs. We can still can't. And that's how they start. That's how the rumors start. I don't mean it at all.
Mark, is there any other rumors you want to start whilst we're on here? You know, hashtag Patrick Mahomes to Steelers or something like that. You want to get going now whilst we're getting rumors started on Twitter?
I don't mean that. I do apologize for that. Mel Kiper is not dead. He's fantastic. We will see 17 mock drafts from him. And you know what? It's kind of like one of those car salesmen or the guys who sells houses. They just talk really fast, and when they talk really fast, they act like they know what they're talking about. And look, he's a draft guy, right? But it is frustrating to me when you see all these things, and it seems like every year it gets longer now, because there really is no off season for NFL, is there, Owen? Like
No, not
NFL,
anymore.
like there is no off season where back in the day with no internet, you put down you have a paper, you go, okay, I'll see the sport in 3 months' time, and I enjoy what I do here, commentating, talking Steelers for sure. I love it, but sometimes I just see those clickbaity things. I'm like, why are we talking about a mock draft when we've got other things to talk about? There's DJ news, which started from a rumor. There's Matt Canada news, where I think we can all go 50-50 on that. We'll talk about that. And there's free agent stuff we all need to talk about. There's guys that may not come back to the Steelers this year. So
I think, I mean, the NFL is so clever now in the way they've scheduled everything and looked at everything. You've got obviously Super Bowl happens, and then very short, not long after, you get the free agents period, and then obviously then you're going to all into draft focus. Then after draft focus, you get everything goes and cut down. It's very clever how they do it, and there's hardly any dead time now in the National Football League. There is constant rolling news. There is constantly something happening. It does seem that it's only like perhaps the last couple of weeks in June, start of July, before training camps actually start, that we actually have a little dead period. But no, it is completely now, I think, a 24/7, 365 a day league, isn't it?
And I don't mind it. I don't mind the mock draft. I just think when I saw it today, I woke up, I was like, oh, really? Really? I got my coffee and I was like, really? We're doing it now? Like, we haven't even seen a wild card team yet. And of course, they don't affect us. Sure, we got to, and I know it's going to be hard for us to choose. Do we want Ravens to win or we want Bengals to win? I'll be watching that and those kind of things happening. But we have to do a book draft right now. That's my issue. It's like 1.0 starts at the 12th of January, when maybe it could start in February or after the Super Bowl. Then when you understand players, but I know what you're doing here on the Syndicate too is going through players or what our team needs, right? And we can discuss that. What do we need? And that to me is fantastic. Identifying we do need a cornerback. We do need, if Devin Bush goes, we need middle linebacker help. Do they go and get Tremaine Evans? That stuff that intrigues me. But the mock draft stuff, too early for me, man. I want to see that in about a month's time.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I think, and it's the danger. The one thing as well you've always got to remember about mock drafts is there's always a danger of you become obsessed with a player or players,
right?
And then what happens to the mark? They end up in orange, or they end up in tiger stripes, or they end up in purple. I mean, I know both myself and our good mate Matty became obsessed with Travis Jones last year, the defensive lineman out of Connecticut. And where did he end up? Playing being a Raven. It's typical, isn't it? It always happens, doesn't it? Yeah, but you're right. I think it is too early. There's enough to reflect on with the Steelers at the moment. There's obviously the news around Matt Canada. There's the news around free agency as well. There is, there's a lot of Steelers players who are out of contract at the end of this year.
How hard can that be? It can't be that hard. 5 linemen do their job. 1 guy in motion for the blocking guy to help the receiver. You go one way or the other, don't you? How hard can that be?
Yeah. I mean, let's start off with, obviously, we'll have a quick discussion about the whole Matt Canada situation. It is obviously news. I heard, was it yesterday? I was listening to DK Sports Daily Shot of Steelers, and DK was having a full-on rant about Matt Canada. Basically, come on, get on with it. How hard can it be to sack someone? Blah blah blah, etc. 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 Now, Mark, where do you stand on this whole Matt Canada debate at this moment in time? Is it, we've made enough improvement for him to stay, or is it time for him to go?
I think he's going to prove me wrong. And not that it matters anyway, what I say or don't say, right? He's going to prove me wrong, because I think they're going to stick with him. And I think he's gotten better this offseason. But I was very reactionary. A bit like, I guess, my counterparts who I don't like either, not personally, but the counterpart argument with like the fire Tomlin stuff. I can't stand that. But I was in that crowd doing the exact same thing with the Matt Canada. But half of Steel Nation was. We were so frustrated with the 2-6 start. That could be Trubisky. It could be the way they weren't developing at the start of the season. And it was very hard to watch, and they weren't getting points. And they're still not getting points. They're still getting like 17 points this year, which is 3 worse than last year. So in an offense, he actually went worse this year, but they snuck away with games and wins. Now, is that the players going out there and excelling? It could be. but I actually think he stays because the Steelers don't get rid of him. But in 2 or 3 days' time, I would love to hear breaking news that he's been sacked and Steelers find someone else. However, they find someone else. We don't know what to expect from that person or they don't see. All I want to see is, to be very honest, I legit don't care. If I throw out all my analytical stuff or if what my opinion is, I don't care. I just want to see this. And you know what? When I used to watch the game when I was younger, I didn't know who the offensive coordinator was. I had no clue who it was. I knew that Big Ben went out there and threw the football down the field and scored TDs. The bus ran over people, and that was it. We sometimes put a lot of stuff into the OC, into the DC, into the coach, all that kind of stuff. We just want to see our players win, and I don't care who it is, but this team is too special next year to be scoring 16 points a game. And if we see the same thing next year, we won't make the playoffs. It'll be the same result. It'll be 9-8, 8-9, because we'll just win some games, we'll lose some. Because with this team, with Pickens, Kenny, Muth, all these guys, offensive line got better. They got to score points. That's what they got to do. And they didn't score many points with Matt Canada.
I mean, my personal opinion is I feel that he's done enough to get himself sacked. I think, he's the things that let him down really badly for me. First of all, the fact that the red zone offense is awful. It is absolutely awful. When we're in that condensed area, it just appears that he cannot come up with anything or any creativity to actually get the ball into the end zone. And that is a major weakness. The second thing is that with the weapons this team has, the talent this team has on offense, and I know they're young guys, and I know it took time for them. It takes time for them to get there, but there's no way they should be struggling to score 20 points a game. There's not a chance they should be. Pickens, Freiermuth, Harris, Warren, Gentry, Pickett, Johnson. There's Sims. There's so much talent out there, and I keep making this argument that if you gave that group to someone like Shanahan, to McVay, to Bieniemy, to Sirianni, to someone of that ilk, to actually coordinate them offensively, Bruce Arians even, they would not be struggling to score 20 points a game. It just would not happen.
I got a question for you. When Matt Canada came out the other day, and by the way, I think his ego is so high. I think his ego doesn't match the way that he coaches the team. I kind of feel like he's just I don't know, that one teacher who knew his stuff but couldn't relate to the team, to the students. Anyways, here's my question. The other day he came out and said, the young guys couldn't pick it up. I didn't want to give them too much, right? I didn't want to give these players too much of the playbook, yada, yada, yada. Is that not on coaching where he can't help them develop faster? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Is he limiting the players, saying, you know what, no, you can't handle this. You can't do this. And the guy's like, well, if you give me a chance, maybe I can. Is that the coaching aspect of we're giving you a dumbed down version of the offense. We don't want you to make too many mistakes. So here it is. Here's the dumbed down version of the playbook. Or can another guy come in with the same group and turn them into a 30-point team? That's what I'm trying to say. If we can see that, whoever comes in, because I don't know if Canada's ever going to be a 30-point team. Doesn't look like it.
No.
2 years in, he's gotten worse. He went 20 and then 17. No matter who the players are, his points got worse, right? Kenny, I think, bailed him out a few times. I think the running game as well. You talked about Pat Meyer. Shout out to him and his group, because they obviously helped out the offensive line, played all the snaps. They moved the ball forward so effectively all year. So is it Canada just sitting there going, you know what, my ceiling is a ceiling and I'm done? Or can a new offensive coordinator come in, and I don't know who it is, I don't care who it is, whoever comes in, can they light a spark and give the players the right plays, the right attention to excel? Or do we just have people talk about mediocre Mike? It's a mediocre Canada.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very much for Steve Smith and what he said. I think Canada is very Saturday night. He's not at all. The Steelers run a college style offense. It's not a pro style offense. If you compare it with the Niners offense, with the Rams, with the Cowboys, with the Bills, it's nowhere near as well developed or as dynamic as their offenses are. Jennifer says in the live chat, did you hear the reports that Kenny was telling Canada what changes to make in the plays? If that's true, that's pretty damning, isn't it, when a rookie's telling the OC what to do? Brian Brown made me laugh with this comment. I'm a fan from the Waterboy.
I also heard another.
I think the thing is with that, Canada to me has failed because he's got some exceptionally talented players. You know, he's got some very, very talented players on the offense. Yet I don't think he's made the best of them. You know, he's probably got, outside of the defense, some of the defensive players, probably, you know, one of the most talented groups. But you look at, say, Pat Mayer. Pat Mayer has done an amazing job with that offensive line. That offensive line is not the best offensive line in the world. It hasn't got the best pieces in the world. You know, James Daniels is the highest picked guy on that line, and he was picked by the Bears at 2. You know, it's Chukuma Okorafor, Mason Cole, who, you know, was a bit part player for the Vikings, Dotson, who obviously was drafted by us, but again is a low-level draft pick, Dan Moore, who was forced into action in his rookie year when they didn't want to use him, and then obviously sophomore year's had his struggles. But if you look at the work that Mayer has done with that line, with the talent that he's got, how he's improved that line, if Canada could have done half of what Mayer's done, how much better would this offense be? How much more talented would this offense be? How many more points would they score if he could have done what Mayer did with that group? And I think Canada's lack of coaching ability, his lack of being able to mold those players and get those players to get better and develop is clear to see. He is failing as a coach.
I'm just saying, like, whatever happens. If they stick with him, fine. You know what? He did get. I think the season got better as it went on because the team got better. They won 7-2. The running game was better. Kenny Pickett was, you know, not throwing interceptions in the end. That was winning games. Sure, like I get that. My only thing is if the Steelers can bring in another guy, and I don't know who that is. I'm not an OC expert, but if they bring in someone in who can score points and who's better who has a better scheme or whatever, or fits the mold for the Steelers, who can get more out of these players, then sure, you cut him. But I reckon, to be very honest, on this Canada stuff, no matter how many rumors come out for whatever radio station says, you know what, there's the Canada's are getting fired in the air next Tuesday, whenever it is. There's not a rumor. Canada's getting fired next Tuesday. Look, I'm not big enough to make rumors. And shout out to Mel Kiper. But I'm telling you right now, whoever comes in, they have to score points. And if there's someone better at your job, you go and get someone better, right? If there's someone going for a promotion, and there's no harsh feelings in the NFL. If he doesn't cut the mustard for this role, then you bring someone else in, and you develop around that. And people are saying, well, let Canada stay at the 1 year. But I'm like, wouldn't you want to bring in an OC as far? If you're going to move on from him next year, why not bring him in this year? Because then you have more time with Kenny Pickett to learn and grow. I don't really know what's going to happen. Look, I think we've been talking more about Canada this year than the team, haven't we? It's been like a Matt Canada special the whole year. It was really bad at the start from my view, and then he got better. Now we're like, will he stay? Will he go? I don't know.
My personal opinion at the moment is that I think he'll stay. I think they will keep him because he's got a year left on his contract. Steelers don't tend to sack coaches. I think so too. Yeah. I think that, you know, Tomlin coming out and say that he was encouraged by the offense. I think he stays, but I honestly think that come October, November time next year during the season, we'll be having the exact same discussion that we're having now. The offense isn't scoring enough points. The offense hasn't developed enough. The offense isn't moving forward enough, because I honestly don't think this guy can evolve. I don't think he has got an evolution of what we're seeing at the moment. What we're seeing at the moment.
Point, though. That's the worrying point. Like if this happens in, say, next year and at the start of the season, right? If this does happen near then the Steelers had a chance to solve that issue. If they know it's an issue now, and maybe it can get better. I don't believe he's a scapegoat, not at all. I'm saying that Canada has gotten better. Like I think the overall play calling from Steeler Nation was really annoyed seeing that even the plays from the year before, right? Those fourth downs and all that kind of stuff. We know what we see. We watch the games. It's gotten better, but then it all comes back to, is it the players or is it Canada? I'm just saying, if he hasn't got the respect in the locker room, if there's someone else better, go and get someone better. But if you haven't got that, then we better hope he turns it around. And prove me wrong. Go and score 30 points. But the facts are, in 2020, this offense scored 20 points. In 2021, they scored 20 points. In 2022, they scored 17. And you can't win games like that. Or to go to the playoffs, and if we were to go versus the Bills, you can't beat the Bills like that. You got to open the game up and get the ball to Pickens, Pickett to Pickens, you know. And he's been on record too that he didn't know how to use McFarland, didn't know how to use CA3, stuff like that, or things weren't ready, or, you know. And he's been under fire by the media the whole time. Guys like DK in those spots where they've been asking questions, and he's just holds it back. He's very reserved. I just think there's someone else that if someone else can take his spot and score more points, then I'm all for it. But same time, I know what will happen if that someone else comes in and he plays bad. it doesn't matter who's there really, because we're going to go after him. We just are.
Yeah, I agree. As Justin Ostott says in the live chat, most teams he played after the bye were not contenders. Improvement was minimal. You know, I think it's an argument of semantics. That, you know, the improvement this season hasn't really been there. I don't think I've watched the Steelers game this year and thought, yeah, this offense is fundamentally massively better than last year. I don't honestly think that was the case. You know, yeah, I mean, Najee's a year on, so obviously Najee's improved. He's got better, but has he learned how to use his targets any better? No, he hasn't. Has he made this offense more dynamic? No, he hasn't. Are the Steelers any good in the red zone? No, they're awful in the red zone. You know, how many, I don't know off the top of my head. I'd love to find out where we're ranked as a red zone offense in the NFL. I bet it's somewhere near the bottom. I bet it is somewhere near the bottom. This offense is poor, and I honestly believe that if he stays in position, we are going to, and I agree with Brian Brown, they should be scoring 28 points every game, if not more. You know, I honestly think that with this offense, they should be scoring more points. And I just think that if he stays as offensive coordinator, you and I, Mark, are going to be having the exact same conversations we were having last season and we're having now in October, in November, in December next year. The offense doesn't move the ball as effectively. Its red zone is poor. It doesn't score enough points. It doesn't get enough yards per pass, yards per run. I just think we have the same discussion. I can't see the discussion being any different.
I think he got better throughout the year. It wasn't always the same style stuff. We did see some kind of, you know, some plays where it made sense, using Watt more, using Connor Haywood more in those different roles, right? And they ran the ball more effectively, right? They definitely did that. So I give him props to that. But that's something that if you look around the NFL, that normal OCs probably do anyway. You know, just because it's an improvement for this team doesn't mean it's a major improvement in the NFL. Now, you asked about the red zone. So you want the red zone TDs percentage?
Yeah.
So this is red zone TD percentage only. So what do you think they are ranked from 1 to 32? Be honest.
29th?
No, they're ranked 23rd, right? So when they're in the red zone, the chance they get a TD is 51%. Now, I've got to figure out how many times they score. Give me a minute for that. So Pittsburgh are rated 23 and 51%. The lowest is New England at 42%, and then the Jets. Of course, the Jets are there. Baltimore, Indy, Seattle, Houston, Vegas, Washington, Green Bay, Pittsburgh. So we're along those lines of the teams that I guess aren't really playoff teams besides Seattle and Baltimore. But what was so you want to find out what scoring in the red zone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me figure that one out. But honestly, I'm not too worried if he stays. I just want to see the team get better. You know what I mean? They did get better. But if it comes down to, like you said, in October, where we are having the same discussion as like, okay, why isn't he getting the players involved? You know, why if it comes to the point where CA3, you know, if he can't use him in certain ways, that stuff will be frustrating to see. You know, because this team, they're running the ball effectively, right?
Yeah, they are. They're running the ball very, very well, and that's one sort of thing. But my honest opinion is, and I'm with Noah. I think it was Noah Strackbine who was talking about this. I don't think the development in the run offense is down to Canada. I think that's down to Mayer. I think Mayer's coordination of the line, and I think he is just having a big input into the run offense. Because if you go back across Pat Mayer's history, I've been an offensive line coach. When he was in San Diego, when the Chargers were in San Diego, he was the run game coordinator and offensive line coach. And Eckler, that was when he broke out. So I honestly think that, you know, and I know we're not privy to what goes on in the Steelers training facility and in the booths and on the sidelines, but I honestly think, and hearing people like Noah Strackbine and other Steelers insiders say this, that Mayer deserves a lot of credit for the run game as well as what the line has done this year. I honestly think that Canada has had very little to do with the run game. I think it has been Mayer who's had that development, Mayer who's moved the run game forward, and not Matt Canada. In effect, it's kind of like last year when Ben saved Canada last year by winning 7 out of 9. he's by those fourth quarter comebacks. I think Pat Mayer, in a way, has saved his job again this year by developing the running offense.
Yeah, so I can't find the red zone stats, but I did find a few other ones that this is what, for the year in review, right? So what do you think the Pittsburgh Steelers are? We already talked about this is going to be a Matt Canada show, looks like. What do you think the Pittsburgh Steelers are ranked in points per game out of 32?
29th.
They're 26 with 18.1, which is 2 less than last year. So if you look at it, if you're comparing Canada to Canada, then this offense in total, right, then it's gotten worse. It's gotten worse in that standpoint. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's got worse with a quarterback that fits his system. But I don't think it's Pickett. It's not Pickett. The guy's a rookie. It's Canada. It's his play calling. It's his. I can't defend him. I just cannot defend him. And I think I can't see how anyone can defend him. He's useless. He's a college coordinator, and you've only got to look at his past history to look that he never stays more than 1 or 2 years anywhere. He's found out very quickly where he is. He's only ever coached in small ACC. He's not he's not come from the SEC. He's not come from the Big Ten. If he'd come from Bama, or he'd come from Georgia, or he'd come from Florida or somewhere like that, he'd have a lot more status than he comes from coaching the likes of Pitt, for example, and people like that who are small schools.
Okay, what are your projections? And you guys in the chat can answer this too. How many NFL touchdowns per game did this offense score in 2022? What rank do you think they are out of 1 out of 32?
Go on,
and how many TDs? So they're
28th.
28th. They're 1.7. They scored 1.7 TDs this year, which is 0.4 difference from last year. It's gotten worse, right? Mm-hmm. Excuse me, I just burped. Excuse me.
I think
there's a few.
I don't agree with that point there, because look at Ben's stats as rookie. You expect Pickett to be a franchise year one. That's super biased. Thing is, Ben had Jerome Bettis, he had Hines Ward, he had Max Starks, Jeff Hartings, on Alan Faneca on his offensive line. You can't compare Ben's rookie year with Pickett's rookie year. That team was way more talented than this team was, because of the fact that it had future Hall of Famers. It had super talented players.
Okay, let's do another one too, because I was looking at these all year, so they're already highlighted for me. What do you think about yards per play? How many yards per play do you think that's the Steelers have?
4.3
this year. They have 4.9. It's an improvement of last year, 27th in the league. So 4.9 yards per play. And last year for this offense is 4.8. So now we have, I guess, 2 years to move on. So look, they did better down the stretch. They ran the ball much more effectively. But I'm saying, like, I agree with you too, Owen. If someone else comes in and can do a better job, why not? Or do we stick with Canada? And I know if the Steelers stick with Canada, what do? You can't do much. You just go and cheer them on. But their stats are there, right? What about pass attempts? Let's go yards. What do you think about yards per pass attempt?
6 point something.
It is. They're ranked 28th in the league, 6.4, and last year was 6. So there's an improvement there from Kenny Pickett to Big Ben. So there's quite a few things here where the offense is last in the league around 20, 26, 27. It can't win games long in the long term that way, in my opinion. But let's do rushing yards. I think this one got better though. So we'll do rushing yards per game. So do you think the rushing picked up near the end of the year? Because this one helps a lot. This one is good.
I think it did. Yeah, I think rushing. I think we came 14th in the league in rushing in the end.
16th.
16th. But yeah, the rushing was fundamentally a lot better towards the end of the season. But like I said, I don't think that was Canada. I think that had zero to do with Matt Canada. I think that was Pat Mayer and the work that he'd done with the line and the run game. I think that was down to him. I don't think Canada deserves any credit for the run game.
Yeah, so we're 16th there. Improvement from last year from 90 yards to 122. But that is also, like working with Najee Harris and the undrafted guy, Warren, which was been playing fantastic.
That's another thing as well. We didn't have anyone as talented as Jalen Warren as a backup running back last year. We had Benny Snell and McFarlane and Kalen Ballage, was it?
I think it was there. Now I'll do one more, then we'll get back into it. So what about average time of possession? So this one improved.
That got better as the season went on. That did.
Yeah, this one was pretty good.
Would get better because of the fact that the run game got better. So the more you run the ball, the longer you're going to have the ball for. So again, that's got nothing to do with Canada. That's down to Mayer for me.
They're actually fifth, though. The Pittsburgh Steelers were fifth in time possession in 31 minutes and 18 seconds, which helps out our defense. But whatever happens, like I think the biggest stat really is the scoring offense. If you're scoring 18 points this season and last season you scored 20, in any job, shouldn't you be getting better, coaching your team? And you can't just say, oh, it's a new team. And I think this team was better. This team was much better than last year. Offensive line proved itself to be better. So therefore, you should get there. And then when you got to the red zone, they couldn't design plays to get the ball in the red zone. Or some points, why aren't you passing the ball rather than run it when you're 40 yards out? I don't know. It can be very frustrating.
This point was made in the live chat. That's crazy. They were running really well. You're letting your hate chat. We didn't say they weren't running the ball well.
How are we hating?
We said
goodness, mate.
We said the running. We said the running was getting better, and it was better, but we said that was down to Mayer and not down to Canada. I think it had zero to do with Canada. And what am I basing this on? I'm basing this on the comments of Noah Strackbine, of Chris Carter, of people who are actually in the locker room day in, day out, and are talking to the players, are seeing the players at the facility, guys who actually see what is going on in the Steelers facility. Noah is there day in, day out. If he's saying things like it's down to Mayer, I'm thinking that, it's going to be down to Pat Mayer, the run thing. It's got nothing to do with Matt Canada. Absolutely nothing.
I don't understand how we're hating. We're simply saying that if someone else is coming in as an OC, then they can do a better job. And I'm actually was comparing Canada's offense, because he's the lead guy, no matter what players he had, with Canada's offense last year with this year, and it got worse. It definitely got worse. The run game got better, but the points got worse. It was 20 points last year, and this year it's 18. And we all know you don't even need stats to find out the red zone struggles, that they had to go and get field goals every time. And you can't help that Najee Harris, fumbles the football. I get that stuff, but I'm comparing Canada's stuff from last year to this year. It doesn't make any sense.
It's not hate, it's fact.
Mate, that's an absolute joke. Daniel, mate, if you're trolling us again, I can't handle it, mate. If you're trolling us again, we're simply talking Canada from last year to this year and what could be maybe an improvement. We're not saying we hate the guy. I gave him his respect. I don't understand that. Mate, if you're going to troll us, get out of here. I'm sick of it. You did it to me before with the Kenny Pickett stuff. You were on Kenny Pickett, the hate train for Kenny Pickett, didn't like Kenny Pickett. And look at that guy. He could be the next franchise. So don't start with that stuff. That's ridiculous.
So, I mean, obviously we're turned a bit of a Matt Canada rant show, but, there's obviously other things.
Yeah, it didn't mean to. It didn't mean to go to that direction.
I didn't mean to. But, I mean, obviously, just if you sort of look at a few other things just to kind of bring the show towards the end of the show now, obviously, there are other decisions to make away from the whole Canada situation. Obviously, the most fundamental decision the Steelers have got to make going forward is the whole situation with, the number of free agents we've got, potentially, obviously, a lot of changes to the roster. Just pulling up quickly, this is the list of guys who are out of contract at the end of this season. There's a list, and there's actually quite a lot of talent on that list of players. Logan Joby, Rudolph, Bush, Sutton, Watt, Jesse Davis is a big bum. Alu, Marcus Allen, please someone buy him a plane ticket to somewhere Siberia.
He's out for sure.
Terrell Edmonds, Robert Spillane, Malik Reed, Chris Wormley, DeMonte KZ, Trenton Scott, Riley, Gentry, Pierre Astenauer, Snell, Jones, Boykin, and Joseph. Mark, what names jump out off that list that we need to keep?
Oh, definitely. I think you got to keep Ogunjobi. I think you talk about Sutton as well. I think he stays. Now, Derek Watt, I don't know about knee, but I think Derek will be there. I think Alualu's gone. Terrell Edmonds stays. I think Robert stays. Kazi, I think, stays. And Boykin stays too, I think. And possibly JC Hasnell as backup. I don't know. And maybe James Pierre too for the backup corner and also teams.
Mm-hmm. I think there's going to be a fundamental change at inside linebacker. I think it's obviously Spillane will be renewed because we know that Mike Tomlin loves Robert Spillane. He's got a real, we saw at the end of the season him playing 100% of snaps. Now, one stat that shocked me was that at the end of the season, in the last 2 games that we played against the divisional rivals and intense divisional rivals, Mark Robinson had more snaps than Devin Bush. Devin Bush, I think, had 10 snaps across the last 2 games, whereas Robinson had a lot more than him. Have we seen the last of Devin Bush in black and gold?
I think so. I think they also played him differently too. I think Austin came out and said they wanted to play him more those physical type runners. That was Robinson, that was Spillane versus the Raiders versus the Ravens. I think he played a little bit. Devin Bush played a little bit versus the Browns. I think he's checked out. I think the injury stuff, I don't think he wants to be a Steeler. I'm not even sure where Devin Bush would play in the NFL. It doesn't feel like when you go and watch the tape or you watch highlights or you watch the game live that he wants to be there. It doesn't seem like that. In my opinion, it just doesn't seem like he wants to be there. So I reckon they're going to go. They could possibly go and bring in Tremaine Edmonds. If they go and do that deal, that'd be fantastic. Like, that's a rumor right now. But if that happens, that'd be great. You pair him with Miles Jack, or you have, or possibly you don't get Edmonds, and they will play Spillane and Jack, and then you feed in Robinson when you can, because he showed up last few games too. Devin Bush does not seem like he wants to be there, and that's fair enough. I don't hate the guy. I don't really care. If he moves on and says, see you later, bye. But for that middle linebacker spot, I think Jack will be there, and I think it could be Spillane as well there too.
I mean, there is talk. There's been a lot of talk in the media as well about the future of Miles Jack, because it's felt that he is too expensive for what he is. That he hasn't really proved himself to be this outstanding inside linebacker that we'd all hoped he was going to be, and that $12.5 million is way too much to pay for him. Do you think that's a Omar Khan restructure, or is this the last we've seen of Miles Jack?
I hope they give him a chance. I hope they get. It's really hard to know though, because once Robertson came in, and even Spillane came in sometimes too, you had Jack was a bit fired up, and even Devin Bush was fired up too. Some of those games where the young fellas were showing them how to do it. Run into a blocker like Robertson did, and it changed I think their play as well. I think they won't give up on him. Like they brought him in for a reason. They'll either restructure him or something like that. I think honestly, next year we could be seeing, unless they draft a guy or go and get a special player like Tremaine Edmonds, you could be seeing Miles Jack and Spillane there. Like, honestly, that could happen, because Spillane played pretty good near the end, and he's that thumper kind of guy, but he's not the cover guy. But in saying that, the defense also played, what they're playing? I can't remember what it's called. Some random set of numbers where they play like 3 or 4 safeties in one go, right? You know what I'm trying to say? They played they played the last few weeks. They played like 3 safeties, one linebacker, I think 1 middle linebacker, something like that.
Yeah,
so it all depends on the scheme, right? It all depends on the scheme. We're not seeing the typical 3-4 where you have 2 middle linebackers and one guy's pretty much a headhunter. But for what I see is, I think Bush is gone. I don't think you can do nothing. Says to me that he makes the team better, and they'll give Spillane a shot, and then they'll probably either draft a guy or maybe they'll go and get a big splash player.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of it's going to come down, like a lot of people are saying in the live chat, down to Omar Khan working his money magic around some of these signings and around some of these players. And I think that's one positive that we've got. We retained Omar Khan in the front office, and that he is well renowned for being able to move money around, to move deals around, to not only create cap space, but for us to retain these players. And I think there's a lot of work for him to do in the off season with the likes of Miles Jack. We've even heard potentially a restructure with Cam Hayward's deal, because Cam is going into the last 2 years of his present deal, and his contract currently is at $22.5 million a year for 2 years. So $22.5 million this year, $22.5 million next year. And a lot of people feel for someone who's going to be 34 at the start of next season, 35 by the end of it, that's too much money to be paying. So there's talk of him restructuring. Mark, have you got faith in Omar Khan to be able to pull this off?
Oh yeah, you even look at the draft like last year. We can even talk about a bit of the draft. What the players we got there. I believe in the organization. I think they're doing some really good things. They are. So, it's kind of funny though, because I was talking to you off air. Like, I don't know the guy from a bar of soap. you know, do I know his office? Do I even know what color pen he writes in? I don't know what he does on a personal day basis. We only know by the buyings and tradings away and the draft picks. We go, oh, that was a good pick. And if they're successful, you go, oh, that was a fantastic pick, right? I don't know him at all. And look, like I always say, people have a go at me because they don't know anything. Look how far away I am from everything, right? I get the news on the later date. Not that's an excuse, but I'm okay with Omar, man. I think he's done well to this part. I think he'll figure something out.
Yeah. I mean, and I've got faith in him as well. We trust the process. There's a lot of work for him to do. That he's going to be very, very busy this offseason. And I think, it's probably, to be fair, it's probably already even started. I think, I know that there's a certain dates you can sign players between, and obviously I think, I don't think you can do it now, but I think there's a lot of discussion already going on, probably behind the scenes, and deals being put into place for a lot of players. So, I 100%, have faith in Omar Khan and the guy we brought in from Philadelphia, Andy Vidal, I think he's called, to get this right. I think overall, though, to start trying to bring it together and try and finish on a positive after we've had a lot of moaning about Matt Canada. I think this team is heading in the right direction. I think there's an awful lot of positives. I think there's a lot of very disappointed people out there that, the tank squad, for example, are very disappointed with how the season ended up. But overall, I think there is a lot of positives to take away from this season. The run game developed so well. Najee Harris, again, is developed. Kenny Pickett is looking like a future franchise quarterback. George Pickens is looking like a true wide receiver one and a top 5 in the NFL wide receiver with the talent that guy's got. The defense, we know, is just the defense for me is one player away from being absolutely outstanding. I think
and they got better too. They got better stopping the run as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think cornerback one, if we go and get a cornerback one in this draft or in free agency, this defense is set for me. That is the one place they were let down this year, that they were burned so many times by the top wide receivers of opposition, like Jamar Chase, like AJ Brown, like Jalen Waddle, like Tyreek Hill. They couldn't cover those top wide receivers. Was it Tyler Boyd as well? Or was it T. Higgins, sorry. Absolutely burnt us. And the fact we didn't have a CB1, that really let us down. I think we're one player away from being an absolutely elite defense.
So Jen brings up a good point here. He says, Ike Taylor, is he our scout now, isn't he?
Yes. Where's that, sorry?
5
Yeah.
So he's our scout now, isn't he?
Yeah, he's our scout.
For drafting or just CBs?
I think for cornerbacks and things like that. So I think he could definitely have an input. So I think that this narrative that we've always had with the Steelers that, we can't draft cornerbacks because they made one mistake in Artie Burns, because they were so obsessed on that position. And once William Jackson III had gone, it was kind of like, we'll have that one because it's the next one on the shelf. But I think with the draft this year, there is so much talent in that. And I know I'm talking about the draft here, Mark, but there is so much talent.
That's okay. You can talk about the draft, just not the mock draft.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the cornerback position and you've got Joey Porter Jr., Kaylee Ringo, Antonio Johnson from Texas A&M, Cam Smith. They're the top 4 guys in this draft. They are all projected to go mid-first round. They are outstanding. I was looking at some of their draft profiles today. I was looking at some of their facts and figures. These guys are absolutely phenomenal cornerbacks. And I think, if we could get someone like them, then I think we really would be set for the next 5-6 years.
In the way they're playing it too, I reckon you go and sign up Terrell Edmonds. You get him covered.
Oh, he's got to come back.
I think you bring back Monte Kazi on a cheap deal, and you have Minka. Those 3 work well together, and then you bring in a nice corner, and this secondary is improved beyond belief. And then of course, I think getting Highsmith adjusted and TJ Watt, they're always going to be there and get them healthy because TJ Watt's health wasn't there, and I think this defense can be scary next year, man. Like even more. Oh, yeah. And it's like Cameron Hayward's last few legs, 2 years, and let's go get a chance for a playoff and let's see if we can get a Super Bowl if we can. I don't know. But I think, bring in a top corner. And if Ike's there too, and you bring in, excuse me, I'm burping a lot today. And I don't mean to do that. And if you're bringing in Porter, then why not? Because this defense, we led the takeaways, right? But then we couldn't score. We couldn't score on the offense. So I'm keen, man. Very keen.
Yeah, I think next season is looking really, really good. I think it's going to be really positive. And I agree 100% with what you said as well. I think we've got to re-sign Terrell Edmonds because the guy, you talk about those 3 safety sets. Edmonds was coming up into the box as like a second linebacker because he's got the physical prowess, the physical size to be able to do that.
Imagine his brother next to him. His brother next to him. That'd be cool.
Yeah, Tremaine Evans. Yeah, exactly. But I honestly think that Edmonds has got to stay. I know there's some people in the Steel Nation don't like Edmonds, but he just contributes so much for me, and he's just so talented. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, I think if he stays, then we have a good 2 years or 3 years and see what happens with him secondary.
He runs in the answer to Todd Sulkowski's question, I heard that Jay Porter is relatively slow for a cornerback. Any truth to this? He runs a 4.47 40, which is Ringo runs a 4.48. Antonio Johnson runs a 4.47. So he's not slow at all.
Is it the same kind of narrative where they talk about Kenny's hands? Yeah. Is that one of those draft? I'm sick of those draft things, man. Everyone talked about Kenny's hands. He's got small hands. He can't throw there. And Kenny played really well down the stretch, and now Kenny's going to be the guy for the whole next year. There'll be no one saying, you know what, I think we should start Trubisky. I think we should go and get this guy, go and get Tom Brady. I'm only joking, but you know what I'm trying to say? Next year, it's like Kenny's the guy. KP8 is the guy. And all draft, all they said was, you know what, he's got small hands. He can't throw. He can't do this. Yada, yada, yada. Is that the same thing they're going to say about Joey Porter being slow?
Yeah. And I think this is a great point as well. And I think this is another thing that shows what our defense can be like. We keep TJ Watt fully fit all next season, and you've got him coming from one side. Alex Highsmith tied 6th in the NFL.
He played
14.5 sacks this year. He is only going to get better. Now, who do you double team? Watt or Highsmith?
Maybe Highsmith.
What do offensive coordinators do? They don't double team Watt. Well, that's going to be ridiculously stupid because he's going to be all over your quarterback. You double team him, you're going to have Highsmith coming after you. It's going to be a nightmare for an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, those are the things though during the draft stuff that we hear all the time about. You know what? And you don't really know these players. I wonder what they said about Connor Hayward. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wonder what they said about Jalen Warren in the draft. This whole stuff is speculation overload, and sometimes it pisses me off after a while because it's fun to do. At the same time, it's very frustrating because what do they say about Jalen Warren? Is he too small? He has no heart, has no ticker. Next minute he's the second guy. It could be easily could be a number one somewhere else. And he's playing really well behind Najee and getting 5 yards per carry. So all this stuff that we do, we scout, maybe it's just more money for the NFL. I don't know.
Yeah. Good
but
question.
I'm okay with it.
Good question from Claude here. Should they sign Highsmith to an extension this offseason?
Yeah,
I think the way it's been trending in recent years, obviously with the Deontay deal, the Minkah Fitzpatrick deal, the fact that obviously they were coming into the last years of their contract. Highsmith is coming into last year contract. I would say it's highly likely that Omar Khan will work his magic and sign him to a new contract. I think it's definitely. I don't think they want to repeat the mistake of losing Bud Dupree.
Here's the thing: do players really want to leave? Do players really want to leave the Steelers? Look at all the players that leave the Steelers. They don't go anywhere. Antonio Brown goes nowhere, goes Craig. Le'Veon Bell goes nowhere. Wallace goes nowhere, right? Bud Dupree goes nowhere. Why do this look, I get that you want the big money, but you think about it, the Pittsburgh Steelers are a very good organization. They take care of their players. It's a good city. It's a good place to live. Why take a cut? Take $5 million off. I don't know. These players leave the Steel City and they do worse. They do much worse. You haven't heard nothing. You're right. Nothing about Bud Dupree. So to me, I reckon that the free agents are going to want to come to the Steel City because Kenny Pickett's there now. They have a chance on offense. All the guys on defense talk about how, if you listen to the players, the guys are keen about Kenny Pickett. They're keen for him to go out there and do something. And now they're getting on defense like, oh, we've got a chance. So splash guys in the free agent market will want to come over to the Steelers and they'll figure out a way because they're a good organization. And they've got Mike Tomlin as coach too, who's a good players coach.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with this. Highsmith is better than Dupree after 3 years. Highsmith's phenomenal. Highsmith really has developed very, very well. this season and has looked very impressive. And I think even when Watt wasn't in the team, he was still very, very impressive as well. So yeah, Highsmith is certainly someone we need to retain. And given the lack of depth outside linebacker as well, he's not a player we can afford to lose. You know, our outside linebacker is going to be putting up where we need.
Bring up Todd's comment. Look, I'm not yelling at you, Todd. I'm just annoyed at the draft today. So he said, I never suggested the draft is not exact science. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not having a dig at you. I'm having a bash at, I think what we tend to do is label these players so much about Kenny's small hands, about this guy's slow, this guy can't do this guy can't do breaking routes. I'm just saying, like, you look at the players like James Harrison or the undrafted guys where they would have rated them not even to be picked in the draft, and here they are excelling. So I find this stuff, take it with a grain of salt, because we all talk about which player we're going to get, or this player should be here, there, and everywhere. Or he can't play in this scheme. He won't excel under here. And then you do the other side too, where they go out and get the Jamarcus Russell. He's going to be the next big thing. Johnny Manziel needs to go here, and then it all goes terrible. So I think the draft is like, it's a crapshoot. It's not saying, I'm not having a dig at you, Todd, at all. I'm just saying I sometimes get frustrated at the idea of this idea of okay, Kenny's got small hands. Who cares? Who cares? He got those little things don't matter to me. And now he's playing some good football, and he's going to be our franchise guy. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, 100%. Right, guys, let's bring it together. We're obviously time ticking on. So we've covered a range of topics here tonight. Obviously, we had our Matt Canada rant, which we obviously weren't planning it to go on as long as it did. But hey ho, there we go. We've talked a little bit about the free agency and everything else. So, but overall, guys, I think, the big thing we need to take away as we reflect back on the 2022 season is the positive end of the season. There's so many positives to take away from this season and so many reasons to be optimistic for the 2023 season. And, we trust the process. We trust Omar Khan. We trust the Rooneys that they'll go out and get the right players in the off season to help this franchise get back to where it deserves to be as a contender, targeting that 7th Lombardi trophy. So, Mark, what are your final thoughts as we end today?
What's up? I do trust the organization. If they do stick with Canada, if they bring someone in, I'm fine with it. He was getting better. The thing is, you look at last year's draft and look at the key players we got. Kenny Pickett, did we get it? No, I'm not saying he's franchise right now, but it feels like we did. If Kenny plays well next year and you have a quarterback for the next 10 years, do we just go back-to-back franchise quarterbacks? That's pretty impressive. Some teams out there, Falcons, Saints, Lions, Browns, are still trying to find their franchise. The Ravens right now are stuffing up with Lamar Jackson. If we go back-to-back franchise from Big Ben to Kenny Pickett, that's not a bad thing. George Pickens was a great pick in the draft. Connor Hayward looks like a guy that can be physical and play teams and play good tight end. Mark Robinson might be a guy that goes to 3rd, and you got him in the 7th round. You know what I mean? DeMarvin Leal could also be on a starting roster for our team. Like, I trust what these guys did. They chose the right players, and with like top 3 picks in the top 50, I trust what they're going to do again, because we have those superstars in Minka. Minka loves the team. Najee Harris loves the team. Cameron Hayward loves the team. TJ Watt loves the team, right? All these guys, these veteran guys are getting much older and going to have a big effect on the young guys like Pickens and these kind of guys. I think they did exceptionally well this season for being 9-8. And we could have a chance next season to go the wild card, and then the year after that, for another draft, we might win the division.
Yeah, 100% agreed.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. The future's as a video title, I think I put out on one of my channels. The future's bright. The future's black and gold.
That's cool, man. I like that. That's cool. You take that one.
It was a slight parody on a mobile phone company. Anyway.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
There we go. Anyway, let's head on out of here, guys. Keep checking out the Pittsburgh Steelers Syndicate. Like I said, even though it's the off season, we are going nowhere. Content might be slightly different, but we will be bringing you daily videos, daily content, keeping you up to date with all the developments happening around the greatest franchise on planet Earth, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mark and I will be always here. Mackenzie as well. All 3 of us will be bringing you content all over the off season, keeping you up to date with every development. And as always, we are extremely grateful for all your comments, all your interactions, everything you've got to say. We value what you've got to say. That's why we bring up. We may not say you by name, but I always try and bring every comment up on screen. I don't believe that live chat should be ignored. I believe that you are fundamentally part of this channel. This channel is not just this channel. Me and Mark and Mackenzie do the channel, but the channel is for you guys, the fans. That's why Mark and I do it. At the end of the day, for you, the fan. Mark, you're going to see us out, buddy.
Here we go, Steelers. Here we go.